takes a while, but yeah.
Isn't that the truth?
Good evening, Eric. I realized I had my mic off.
Well,
I knew what you were saying.
it is 6 o'clock. So with that, we will call the October 5th Independent School District 882 School Board meeting to order. And then we'll go on with the approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Melissa Curtis, second by Jennifer Lewis Canigator. All those in favor say aye by roll call. Jeff Hagley?
Aye.
Melissa Curtis?
Aye.
Candy Carta?
Aye.
Jennifer Lewis Canigator?
Aye.
Missy Hansen?
Aye.
And Jill Hoffman, aye. Motion to approve the agenda passes 6-0. I don't believe, Jill, we had any requests for citizens' comments.
No, we did not.
Okay, and so we'll continue on with the consent agenda. Board members, you all received your packets or your information via email. If there's not, are there any questions or comments regarding the consent agenda? Otherwise, it is an action item.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Melissa Curtis, second by Jennifer Lewis Canigator. All those in favor say aye by roll call. Jeff?
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
Candy?
Aye.
Jennifer?
Aye.
Missy?
Aye.
And Jill, aye. Motion to approve the consent agenda passes 6-0. Mr. Olson, resolution for the acceptance of gifts.
Yeah, so we have a couple different donors here today, and I had the good, amazing pleasure of working with our auxiliary in town here. So Monticello American Legion Ladies Auxiliary, and they donated 3 flags, a United States flag, a Minnesota flag, and the POW flag for our Monticello High School Memorial Plaza. So the value is not only of great substance of monetary value, but just obviously the unity that that brings our community together. And this organization does so many great things for our elementaries, like our safety patrol. They take a great interest in a lot of the different programming at the high school and middle school as well. And this is just another example of them reaching out to us and providing us with some 3 beautiful flags to hang at our Memorial Stadium. So we have a couple here online with us today for the presentation, but I also got to spend some time with them, and it was definitely a hoot. They are just characters and just beautiful, wonderful personalities. So thank you for being here tonight online, and thank you for making the presentation to us so we could put your picture up.
Thank you. Thank you.
Did you want to say anything tonight?
Oh, am I the only one on from the auxiliary? My name is Mary Simidet. I am the president of the Monticello Legion Auxiliary. And we always appreciate all of the work that's gone into the Veterans Memorial. And just in honor of Veterans Day, we wanted to donate the flags before Veterans Day so that they're available when you need them. And so we appreciate that. So thank you very much.
You bet, Mary. Thanks for our partnership and wonderful relationship that we have with your organization.
Thank you.
I would second that. Thanks, Mary. We really appreciate you being here tonight and for this wonderful donation.
We appreciate your work. So thank you.
Thanks. And then the other 2 donors, actually the other 2 are the same, but we have 2 Peacemaker donations, and Peacemaker has been an organization that has supported our social emotional learning at starting at our elementary schools. They do a great job of supporting positive behavior intervention strategies, and then also just getting involved in us being able to purchase our brand new curriculum that we are using for our 2nd year, pre-K all the way through grade 12. So we couldn't do it without Peacemaker. So thanks, Peacemaker. for these donations, $3,500 to Pinewood and $500 to Little Mountain. This brings our year-to-date total of donations to $79,792.48. So think about that for a second. Here we are in the midst of a worldwide pandemic, and our community continues to reach out to us. They continue to support our students, our staff, and just our whole organization. So we couldn't be more fortunate to be where we are and have our school in a community that believes in us so much. So thanks, community.
Yeah, and I would absolutely echo that too. All of these, the organizations, the auxiliary and peacemakers, they contribute so much to our schools and our community. And in the total of almost $80,000, I think of the things that we couldn't do without this type of donations and giving back to our schools with our limited funding that we have. So thank you for everyone who's donated up to this point, and encourage people to, we are able to do great things with the money that people give us. So thank you for everything that is given to us. With that, it is a resolution that needs to be read.
Therefore, be it resolved by the Monticello School Board number 882 to gratefully accept the following donations from the Monticello American Legion Ladies Auxiliary, 3 donated flags for the Monticello High School Veterans Memorial Plaza in honor of Veterans Day on November 11th. From Peacemaker, Minnesota, $3,500 to continue to support social emotional learning at Pinewood Elementary, and $500 to continued teacher support to help implement social emotional learning and classroom activities at Little Mountain. Second, this is Missy.
Motion made by Jennifer Lewis Canigator, second by Missy Hansen. All those in favor say aye by roll call. Jeff?
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
Candy?
Aye.
Jennifer?
Aye.
Missy?
Aye.
And Jill, aye. Resolution, we gratefully accept these gifts, 6-0. It passes. Continuing on, we have a new student representative, Rachel Dahlke.
Hi guys, my name's Rachel. I'm obviously a senior here at Monticello. I've been on the dance team for 6 years. Just tell you a little about myself. I'm also on the golf team, and I've been a part of like mentorship programs in school and whatnot. So yeah, that's a little about me. So I'll start by telling you a little bit about like how we're handling the pandemic at school. Obviously we have the A and B days where half the kids go on Mondays and Wednesdays, and then half the kids go Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then everyone is online on Friday. So the teachers are really trying to do their best work while they are working with students in these conditions, but it can really get hard because not everyone's in class every day. So some teachers will do the synchronous where they have students be online while the class is going on. They might have like Google Meet during class so they can join in during their hour. And then some teachers will just do lessons like online, like do an activity on Schoology or something. Some kids are definitely struggling more than others with this. I've noticed that some kids are having a hard time getting into their routine and just making sure they're doing their online schoolwork every single day. And because they're not going to school every day, they don't get that teacher contact that is really important. And lunch is starting to look a lot different now. We all have to sit on Main Street or in the field house. Staying 6 feet apart, of course. We all are sitting at the ends of each table, making sure that we're social distancing. Lockers are also not accessible to students right now. Definitely kids wish that they could have a locker, especially as it's getting colder, so they can have like a jacket or whatever. But yeah, it's really hard not having a locker at school, but we're getting used to things. Everything is definitely staying wiped down as well and sanitized. Teachers wipe down everything between every class. Kids are also doing a good job following like the mask rules and everything. And some teachers will have class outside, so then kids can have those mask breaks that are important, and they can go outside and get a break from being inside all day. So now I'll go into like music and sports and stuff like that. So we have a new band director that is starting this year. He's doing a really good job adjusting and everything. We just started playing with bell covers today, actually, and special masks to make sure that we are staying safe, obviously. Choir is also in the auditorium so they can practice social distance together. Sports now. Boys and girls soccer have been doing really well. I've heard girls swim is doing good as well. Football and volleyball have been practicing, and they're supposed to start their season here in the next few weeks. We've just gotten word today that every football player is allowed to give out 2 tickets, and then 50 seniors. So seniors can sign up to go to the football games, but only 50 will be drawn from a hat to be able to go. So that's definitely a lot different for this year. Volleyball is actually not allowed any spectators, and I've heard that is that way for some winter sports as well. And those are about to start in like mid-November, early December. So many kids are not very happy about the whole football thing, and we're not actually allowed on school property either during the games. So there was a lot of buzz around that about school today. And homecoming is starting October 11th. The candidates were actually picked, so coordination will be on Sunday. Obviously, it's going to look a lot different this year. There's not going to be any Iron Man or Powder Puff or anything like that. But yeah, we're still having the dress-up days at school when we're there. So yeah, that's a little bit about what's going on at the high school. We're all just kind of adjusting a lot different how school has looked in the past, but I think we're all doing okay for the most part. I know a lot of kids are struggling a lot with like mental health and getting to school and doing their schoolwork from home and just not having that social interactions that we've been used to. But yeah, that's how it's been going so far.
Awesome job, Rachel. Thanks for saying so many things about so many different components of your day.
It's a lot, Rachel, and I think in theory we know what's happening at the school, but to hear what you're all missing out on and what you're not getting to engage in. I wish it could be different for everyone. I mean, everyone on this call or in the world, I wish it could be different. Somehow it seems, those rites of passages that we all go through in high school, there's something that tugs at your heart a little bit more there. So I'm very, very sorry for you guys, but I'm thankful that for you giving such a wonderful presentation for us to feel that and get that viewpoint. It's really important that we understand that, even though we can't do anything about it because of the situation we're in. I appreciate your honesty and telling us everything that's going on.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
Anyone else have any comments or thoughts? And welcome, Rachel. Welcome.
Yeah,
we're so glad you're here.
I think we should ask Rachel who her favorite school board member is.
Oh, come on, Jeff.
Oh, just pick someone else that's not him, Rachel. Just pick anyone else.
She's like my 4th daughter.
That's awesome. Well, good. We're glad you're here, and you'll get to hang out with Jeff for a long time. So that's good.
Thank you.
But anyway, thank you so much. We really appreciate everything and look forward to seeing you.
Yes, thank you.
And then we'll continue on. Brad Lundell will talk about schools for equity and education.
There, I've unmuted. I think I sent out a presentation today. And I think that what I did is, Eric, I think you guys all know the history of C, and a lot of times I get out there and I talk for about 5 minutes about who we are, but I think everybody knows from your past membership, the value of C and who we are. So I'll just jump into the numbers. I know that you guys are going out for a levy this fall, and I think that if you look at I think Eric talked to me about the rankings, and I don't have where Monticello sits exactly, but I know that you're near the bottom in all the categories of funding, and about almost not a little over $900 below in general education from the state average. The big kicker for Monticello, and I know this has been a real challenge when you had your folks down at the legislature. There was a bill in to talk about the special ed issue that you have, and I think that that's where you're $1,200 below the state average in terms of special ed, and that's something that obviously needs to get fixed. There's some quirkiness when the formulas changed, and Monticello really came out, and I think that Ms. Burkholder could tell you exactly. Put it this way, it's something that you are familiar with, and again, that really does need to be fixed. And then there's the other category where Monticello again falls well below the state average, and that's the kind of the long-term facilities maintenance, integration aids, those programs. I think the only place where I see you go above the state average is that you get on the literacy incentive aid, you're a little bit above the state average. And then in something called minimum aid adjustment, you're also above the state average. But generally, Monticello, like so many C districts, not districts that really rely heavily on the general education formula, do not get much in terms of categorical revenue. If you look back, one of the things is that the state average for compensatory revenue is $565 per kid, and Monticello gets $133. Again, the other thing with also Monticello is not a district that's in the Q comp, at least not for this year. Have you ever talked about moving in that direction? I think one of the things that they're talking about at the, and I'll talk about a little bit later, is the governor's finance. The Department of Education has been working on a group of school finance reforms, and I think one of them was to make QComp, or teacher development and evaluation, make that an open and standing appropriation, so that every district that wants to get into that would be eligible to get that $265 per student. I think that, so again, in the case of Monticello, and I can ship you, I think that right over the PowerPoint next to these is what I was working off. I think there's a tab to the right that says Monticello board presentation. I don't know. Do I do that, or does somebody else do that?
I can help you with that, Brad.
Yeah.
Is that with the Excel sheet, or is that a separate document?
No, it's a separate document. It says Monticello board presentation.
Okay.
Brad, we are on the waiting list for QComp. So
okay. Yeah, that would be. I think that there's some real simple things. Again, a month. Well, I guess. Is it 5 weeks? Yeah, 5 weeks from Wednesday, we'll know who's going to be in control of the legislature and what that actually means. I think that as again, listening to Rachel talk about how the pandemic has changed schools, obviously it's really changed the way businesses operate too. And we're looking at, a pretty big deficit at the state level. Will it be as big as the one that was right after the economic downturn in 2008 is yet to, remains to be seen. But the legislature won't be going in, regardless of who's in control, won't be going in with a lot of ability to correct funding shortfalls and equity shortfalls that really do exist. And again, Monticello being a district that falls below the state average in almost all the funding categories. And that's why the basic formula is so very important, but then also making the referendum equalizing that so that the property taxpayers in Monticello aren't paying significantly more than they are in other districts. One of the things that the governor's working group is talking about, and again, I need to talk to board members about this, because one of the things they're doing is they're going to try to reduce reliance on the referendum and replace that with board-approved authority that would be very highly equalized. Now, some board members think, hey, that's a great idea. Then we don't have to go to the voters. But then other board members say, well, again, more responsibility. Some welcome that, but some also think, well, the state should be funding this. Why should I be, having to raise my own levy? And the other thing then too is that oftentimes districts like the referendum because if the vote comes positive, it means something that the community is behind. You're having a discussion with your community on an ongoing basis to get the referendum passed. So I think in the case of it's certainly if districts used all that new board authority, and then that's kind of switched out with then the voter approved referendum, the cap on that goes way down. What they do is they switch a lot of the existing referendum away from voter approved to board approved. They add some more board approved authority for districts that are below state average or below that cap. And then they really reduce the referendum cap so that those districts with the high property wealth simply aren't going out and, again, well, basically ruining it for the rest of us. So I guess that's kind of where we're looking at, watching that very closely. But again, I've been at this a long time, and I think one of the real problems is you see all these reform programs come to the fore, and it's usually they come in, they pick and choose some of the things in there that they like. Some of the folks that are in positions of greater influence will, push a few things forward. But the thing that's important in this proposal is it's kind of like a sweater, and if you don't do it all, if you start pulling on strings, the whole sweater falls apart. And I think the thing is it's quite pricey, but by the same token, it's also some really strong forward moves for both adequacy and equity. It would narrow the gap between the 5th and 95th. It would bring those districts on the bottom up. Again, the problem in C districts, and it's always been one of my frustrations, is that our districts generally, because of the demography, are going to be districts that are going to be in the lower half. They're going to be below the state average. But if it's not bad being below the state average, if you can do everything you want to do with the resources that you're given. And I think that's the thing, is where the adequacy piece comes in. I think that, again, there's one of the, it's never, put it this way, I ran track. It's never fun to be last, but if I ran my personal best, I thought like, well, at least I did my personal best. Oftentimes I didn't run my personal best and finish last anyway. So those are rough days. But I guess the thing is that we, the big thing is to get the system funded to the level where districts can do everything that they need to do to prepare students, give students that wide range of opportunities that they really do need to succeed in an increasingly complex world. I would urge you, and we'll be talking more about this at the C General Membership meeting in November. Tom Melcher is coming to, he's semi-retired. For those of you who don't know what Tom Melcher is, he's been the education funding guru at the Department of Education for 40 years. And so I guess the thing is that he's going to describe all the elements that are in the in that governor's funding proposal. Again, what they're talking about, I think, is to get that on the tracks and kind of phase it in over a few years. But still, we, as I've seen over the years, one of the real problems is you get stuff on the tracks and we just don't know what the economy is going to look like, how long it's going to take to come out of the pandemic, what is actually going to change in terms of business behavior, in terms of long-term economic behavior, investment by companies, those types of things. I think those folks in commercial real estate now, especially in the Minneapolis and St. Paul, where you've got these huge vacancy rates now because companies are figuring out, well, I can have people work at home and just have them come into the office periodically. So I'm going to reduce my footprint in my commercial space footprint, like in a downtown Minneapolis office building. Those types of things, we just don't know what that's going to look like, and it's probably going to take a few years before we actually know how that shakes out. But in the meantime, kids are in school. Kids are needing to have they need to have access to programs. So I guess then that can't stop. We just have to make sure we're keeping the pressure on the legislature to fund schools to the best of their ability, hopefully increase that ability in some way, shape, or form. And then, you make the kind of changes we can make to get districts like Monticello where they need to be, so they're not having to go out and ask for a referenda. So.
No. Well, thanks for that update, Brad. We appreciate it. We know how important the work that SEAS is doing and getting to that point where we have, equity across the board. So thanks for being here tonight.
Well, absolutely. Glad to be here. Thanks for your membership and your continuing support. I think the thing, as soon as we know who folks will be talking to, then we will certainly, supply you with talking points and help, kind of to take apart some of the, take apart this governor's proposal and, give you folks the talking points you need to help legislators fully understand that. One of the things I hope for in a new legislature, and it's been a real, again, frustration over the last decade or so, is that I'm hopefully we can find middle ground with legislators where both sides can come together on some sensible things. I'm sure it frustrates you as board members that you guys have to make decisions and have to make things work. Oftentimes what we've seen over kind of in recent vintage at the legislature, and it's just the system. This isn't a comment on one party or the other. It's just that there's a lot of kicking the can down the road. And I think the thing is that you folks don't have that luxury. You have to make decisions. And I think, I laud you on your ability to make those decisions. And again, whatever we can do to help you talk to legislators and press upon them the need to come together on some really important things is we will certainly help. And again, that's what we fashion that to your needs. And so again, if you have some kind of way you want to, massage it, we'll certainly work with you and kind of develop those things in a way that's going to work for you.
All right. Well, thanks so much. Well, I think, Eric, we can continue on.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. And to
thanks for having me.
And to Sodexo Food Service update with Sierra McDonald.
Good evening. Thank you so much for inviting me. I appreciate your time this evening. I believe, Jill, you have my presentation and that you can help me get it up for everyone to view. Is Jill there?
I do. Yep, I believe.
Good. I was like, I'm going to have to learn how to share my screen. Oh, no.
No, I think everybody should be able to see that now.
Nope.
Yeah, I can't see it yet.
Okay.
Sarah.
Do I need to share my screen?
Well, even just go ahead and start because you have it in front of you, right?
I do. I have two screens.
Yeah, perfect. Because they all have
Yeah.
they all have either their device with them or a hard copy. So
Perfect. So I'm just going to go over a couple things. Tina and Mr. Olson asked me just to give you a brief update on what we're doing this year. I'm going to give you a quick introduction to myself since I am new to the district. We're going to go over some safety precautions we've taken in food service, the summer food service program that we have initiated starting this school year, how we're going to reach all the students, and then we're going to just kind of go over our September meal counts. So I am Sierra McDonald. I am the new general manager for Sodexo this school year. You see the picture, that's me on Pink Day about 2 weeks ago. I included that one because it gave everybody at the district office a nice little giggle. You don't get the full effect in that picture because you don't get to see the knee socks. So it's a little bit of fun for you. I've been with Sodexo for 3 years. And I started off at Columbia Heights Public Schools, and then I was working in senior living for a bit. So I have a food service management background in school services, senior living. Before that, I was also in retail. I'm also an Army veteran. I served over 4 years in the Army. So I'm really excited for Veterans Day to come around. I heard you have a really great presentation. I have a couple of ideas of things we can do in the schools, and I'm really excited. It's obviously a passion of mine to help out veterans and to share my experience with students who potentially may want to go that route. I have a master's degree in management, and as you can see in that fun picture, I do believe that work should be fun. So I try to work with my staff to make sure they understand that we're going to have fun. We're going to make it fun for the students and fun for ourselves. This year's a little bit been hard. It's hard for morale. And I think it's important that we embrace those days that we're trying to make it fun for everyone. You want to go to the next slide? For safety, hand washing has always been a food service thing. So we've been doing hand washing since before it was cool. And we continue to do that every day, multiple times a day. We actually even take classes on how to wash hands and when to wash hands. Personal protective equipment. I've been working with Tina and Barb so we could provide our team with the correct PPE that they need, as well as also providing additional PPE for people who are concerned about their safety being back in the buildings. We provided some flexible menu choices for our cafeteria. We worked with all of the principals before school started so we can find out ways to where kids can eat in the classrooms or where they can eat outside. And so we're continuing to change our menu to meet the district's individual needs as well as the individual school's needs. So it's been a fun challenge for me. I've been enjoying it. Food safety is always incredibly important to all of us in food service, but this year we've removed all of our self-serve stations and options where the students could come in contact with other food. So we've been packaging it and making sure that all of those food items that are given to kids are handled the least in the most safe way. We've introduced new cleaning and sanitizing products that just are new, that are all COVID approved, and removed the ones that were not, so we can make sure that we're staying safe in the kitchen. And we are trying to maintain what we call a 6-foot kitchen. Obviously, if anybody's been in the kitchens, you can see that it's quite a challenge sometimes, but we're getting very creative on where are we going to be cooking different items or prepping and being able to stay apart as much as possible. So that way, if somebody does get infected, it doesn't affect the whole kitchen. It would just be very limited. We can go to the next slide. So the first day of school, the MDE threw a curveball at us and let us know that the United States Department of Agriculture did extend our ability to use the summer feeding program for all of our students, and Minnesota adopted it the first day of school. So we had a lot of challenges that Tina and I had to come in and change everything before school even started. So that way we were able to utilize this program. The summer food program allows us to provide meals for our students for free. So they get breakfast and lunch this year through December 31st. or until the funding runs out, whichever one comes sooner. There was a bill that recently passed after actually I even did my presentation that we're still waiting for more guidance from USDA and from MDE on whether or not they're going to continue throughout the rest of the school year. But for now, we have until December 31st or until the funds run out, which is a really great opportunity for our students to get meals for free. So just to give everybody an idea of how we're going to be able to reach our students and how we're getting them meals, obviously we have the challenge of we have very different models in every single building, and we have people introducing every way. So for our secondary schools, in our hybrid meals, in person, our breakfast is available grab and go. So that way the kids can come in, they can grab their breakfast. We've been having some great help with the leadership teams and helping the kids know that there's breakfast available to them. And then they're able to take it to their classrooms. This keeps them out of the areas where they're congregating. Lunch, the secondary options. Right now we have one hot and one cold option, just so it makes it easier to get the kids through the lines and again, reduce congregating and being together. We do hope to expand those options to them as we learn and develop more. But it's definitely been an interesting change for us. At the high school, they have the cold lunch is going to be served in the field house and the hot lunch is in the cafeteria. Both options are at the cafeteria at the middle school. And they just are able to go grab their meals and go with the to-go containers. So it really reduces the time that they're in line. One of the great things that we were able to do is for our hybrid learners, their next day, on their way out that day, they're able to grab a meal pack. So that way they have meals for their next school day. So the day that they're not in school, they're able to pick it up the day before. So that way they have something to eat the next day. It also gives us a great option to give them meals for the weekends, which I'll talk about in just a minute. And if you'll notice, our middle school in this picture sets up a sample. So that way the kids know what they're choosing from. And they get to see it. I was really proud of them. They came up with that and it looks really good. And it helps the kids decide what to grab since theirs are in closed containers and they don't get to see it. So they still have that visual experience of eating. We can go to the next slide. Elementary meals, breakfast is served the same way. It's all grab and go at all the programs that we have. Lunch is going to be available. Eastview just has the one hot options. We were talking to the leadership team there, and it's just really hard for the little kids to make choices when they see the different choices. And just so that way we can reduce the time that they're standing in line and they're able to get to their classrooms. It's really great that we just limited that. All other schools have the hot and cold option. Eastview is eating breakfast in their classrooms, and we bring it to them, which is really awesome as well. The weekend meals we started last weekend. It was really great that with SFSP, we are allowed to utilize those funds. So while we have our backpack program funds, the school district gets to maintain those and hold on to them until there is no longer summer feeding program funding. And then, so we can utilize the funding from the federal government, which is really great. So we can save our money and still provide meals to kids. We have a survey on the dining services page. The parents can go in and sign up. It's all very carefully done. So that way we make the meals, we provide them to the teachers can slip them in their backpacks. So it's not something that they are, that they're, anybody knows. It's just like the backpack program, but without using our funds. Nature-based funding, also we're bringing breakfast and lunches out to them. That's been a challenge and an interesting experience for me, but they are still getting a breakfast every day, as well as the preschool and kindergarten are getting a hot option, and the other kids are all getting a cold option, but we're getting in equipment so that way we can provide all of them with a hot lunch. So that way when it gets colder, they're getting hot lunches. So distance learning meals, on Fridays, we have a pickup at both the middle school and the high school that the parents can sign up for. It's all on our dining services webpage for a survey. And then again, we get to package them a meal for 7 days. So the days that they're not at school because they are at home learning, we're still able to provide them with meals. We're going to be doing an MAE meal pickup. So that way, if somebody wants to have meals over MEA, again, we have another survey. I spend a lot of time on Wednesday afternoons doing the surveys, but it is reaching out to kids. So that way we make sure there's not any kind of food insecurity with our students. Digital learning days, this is something that Tina and I discussed. And I'm glad that everybody embraced it. Superintendent Olson was very generous to allow me to reach out to the principals to discuss it with them. On Wednesday, October 14th and on November 6th, we're going to be able to provide a digital learning day for all of our elementary school students. Our secondary students are going to receive their hybrid meals just like they would on a traditional day. But this way on Tuesday, the 13th, we're going to send every elementary school kid home with a meal that they can eat the next day, both breakfast and lunch. And the next slide. I wanted to take a quick moment to thank my staff. I know I wasn't here in the spring, but I know they worked really hard. They overcame a lot of challenges, and it made it a little bit easier for me to come at them with these new ideas because they have embraced the change and the flexibility. We keep telling them it's the year of flexibility. And every time I come at them with a new idea, they take a minute and then they say, okay, let's do it. Let's feed the kids, because we're all here for the same goal. So I do think it's important that I thank my staff, because without them, I would not be successful. The next slide. So for September, you'll see these are the breakfasts that we served. It started off actually really slow at all of the schools. My understanding is we didn't have a very significant breakfast program before. Eastview has the highest number because we do that breakfast in the classroom, and every kid gets a breakfast that way. So they're not trying to like get them into the cafeteria. We're just able to get it to their classroom with the staffing we have. But those numbers have significantly grown from the first day the high school was serving 6 breakfasts a day. You can see over the course of the time frame, they've gotten closer to 2,000 breakfasts a day through the month. So I'm incredibly proud that we're able to reach the students and be able to provide them with that important start of their day. So we served a total of 13,818 breakfasts in September. And then the same, this is our numbers for lunch. Lunch is down this year. We do have less students in the building, and we're trying to reach them as much as possible. I do know there's parents who are concerned, as I am as a mother, about where we're bringing things, but our numbers have been growing significantly, and we're able to just provide those meals. And I really appreciate all of the administrative staff who've come with me with their ideas of things that we can do, and the different things that they're very embracing my ideas of what we can do, so that way we can get these meal opportunities to our students. And that is my quick food service briefing. Does anybody have any questions that I can answer? It's a lot in a couple minutes.
You covered a lot. Yeah, you covered a lot, Sierra.
Thank you.
Hi, Sierra. I didn't really have a question, but I do want to thank you for your service. And thanks for the presentation, and just say hello, because I haven't met you yet. So it's very nice to meet you, even if it's virtual.
I look forward to meeting everyone in person someday. I'm very outbeat and loud. So I actually had the pleasure of coming to Monticello multiple times when I was at Columbia Heights as a visiting GM, and I've worked with Joe Happy and with Brittany. So I do know the staff and the district really well, and it's always a pleasure to be here.
Well, awesome. Well, go ahead. Oh, go ahead, Jeff.
Oops. I just want to say thank you. I think it's amazing if you look at how many breakfasts you're making and how you're delivering the products and how you're delivering meals to kids that aren't going to be there the next day. I just can't even imagine the thoughts or the processes that you're going through and trying to get this organized. And I mean, the people that work for you, tell them that they're awesome and they're amazing, and that it's just amazing that you can get this much food out to the kids in our district and the kids that aren't there. And even like our distance learning kids are receiving meals. It's just, I just think it's awesome and unbelievable. So thank you for what you're doing. And I know it's very challenging, but it is greatly appreciated.
Well, thank you so much. And I tell my staff daily, they're amazing. So thank you. I appreciate it. And thank you for letting me take some time of your time.
Yep. I echo everything that Jeff said. He summed it up well. So thanks, Sierra, and thanks to your staff and the transportation and the busing to get everybody and coordinating all of that to get it where it needs to go. So thank you. We'll continue on to Right Tech Center update. So Brian.
Yes, good evening, and thank you once again for allowing me to spend some time at your board meeting. Fourth year already at Right Tech, and things are going quite well. I appreciate working with Mr. Olson and all of the member soups. They're on my advisory board that we meet the last Wednesday of each month. So next slide, please. Thank you, Jill, for helping manage this. What we've all been facing, of course, since last March is inevitable as far as how do we provide the quality education to our students. And with our Safe School plan, our three main challenges, which I know that you are all very well aware of, is how do we ensure the student and staff safety, the development of alignment of our Right Tech schedule with 8 member districts and their schedules, and how are we doing financially. Next slide. So the simple part as far as the guidance, simple based on what it is that we've received from MDH and MDE, but then the tasks of making certain that all of those items are in place along with several more. And so I just kind of highlighted the larger ones that we were faced with, of course, and we all have our own unique situations within our districts, and with Monticello and the multiple sites that you do have to manage, just fantastic job by administration and the school board too, and just all of the management that needs to happen. So thank you. This is just a snapshot of our hybrid days. When we have our three districts that come first block for the tech center with STMA and Delano and Big Lake, and then with second block with Buffalo schools, the first block, they all align quite well. With the third block, we have 4 districts, Monticello being the largest in attendance, and then with Annandale, Maple Lake, and Howard Lake. And those schedules were not as easy as what we experienced first and second block. Just with the AB schedules, not everybody is Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Thursday, every other Friday, but some are Monday, Thursday, Tuesday, Friday, every other Wednesday. And so it's been quite challenging. And so within the hybrid, in our tech center classes, we're heading into week 5 here, and we're about, 2.5 weeks behind where it is that we would normally be, but that's to be expected because we're having, even though the hybrid students that are at home in distance learning days, they're still participating with the actual lab classes. We're just now finally in the last week getting rolling with the lab activities. And then with the ALC, a different schedule, but we are doing quite well in just managing the student population that we do have. Next slide. This is also an extension of the hybrid schedule. You can see that just, with the OJT and then with our learning center, as far as how the development of the schedule has worked. And so I think our leadership team and my principal, Sean Carson, in the development of the schedules and everything, in working in conjunction with your principals, and to make certain that we're addressing the needs of the students. Next slide. So with the financial part, thankfully, we looked at the CRF dollars and the Minnesota Care dollars with the ESSER and the GEAR dollars, which were really quite minimal in comparison. But the Wright County CARES dollars came through, and fortunately, they treated us as a district of ourselves. And so with the Wright County students, we looked at with the enrollment numbers from our member districts, and they recognized us as our district and an entity of our own. There was some talk that they were going to ask us to ask our member districts for a portion of the member districts' Wright County CARES dollars. But then also in visiting with them too, our without the levy authority and with the limited funds that we do have, that is actually a game changer for us. Going back to March, where we can be charging back some of the dollars that were spent on keeping our employees employed with our pairs that were doing a lot of work with the distance learning model that we were having. So we are thankful for that. And so that's going to be a boost to us. And just, we spent probably $40,000 right out of the chute, just being prepared for the start of the school year. So we're thankful. Next slide. So when we take a look at our enrollment, a lot of the same information that I'm sharing with you tonight is a repeat of the last few years, but I think it's important that we take a look at each of the individual districts, and knowing that, Mr. Olson has all of this information, and we visit monthly, and now we began to take a look at the enrollment. Now we're into the start of the school year, and this is from all blocks. And so then you can see from Monticello, which we currently have 106 students, and that's our October 1 count that we take a look at, and that helps determine the usage portion of the funding formula for so many of the areas. So that gives you an idea of where the students are in attendance at for Monticello. Next slide. So this is something that we've talked about every year too. And so when we look at our all-member access and usage, and what we've identified a few years ago as our enrollment increases within our sophomores and juniors, that our usage is trying to stay in that same amount of increase, but they've been trending apart a little bit. So now let's take a look at Monticello's numbers. So with the next slide, you can see that where Monticello's numbers are is that we're actually following the trend as the enrollment is increasing. The number of participants, or in the usage side of the juniors and seniors, is also increasing. And so we're at 106. And if we look back to 2014, that was 109. And so this is the highest enrollment that we've had participating in the Wright Tech Center classes since 2014. And so there was a decline, but now since 2016, you can see that the increase, we have been increasing every year the last 5 years of participation within the Tech Center classes. And next slide. And so now when we get into the finance, I guess thank you again so much for the support of the Tech Center. We all know of what it is that we experienced a few years ago with a wall restoration project, and I'll be able to share that with you in the fund balance in just briefly. But these are our main revenue sources, and so that first two columns on the left, that WTCA, those are our assessments that we provide based on the numbers that we just looked at with access and usage. And then we use that same percentage in the calculation of somewhat of our bond, and where the debt payments on our 2009-2010 edition, we have 5 more years remaining. We did a refinancing 2 years ago, or 3 years ago now, on the debt finance, and actually saved a considerable amount of money and dropped the interest rate from 5.5 to 2.6. And we were able to then transfer those savings to our LTFM, because our LTFM began at 150,000. We took that 17,000 annual savings from the bond and actually applied it to the LTFM to increase that to 167,000. And then with the bond with the building restoration, we had to levy against that LTFM, and so we have approximately 80,000 that goes to pay towards the bond, and then the remaining is for our usage for the building maintenance and repairs. And then the CTL levy. So those are the main areas. And then you can see the other revenue sources are our ALC tuition and our special ed aid from state, transitional disabled, summer school tuition, target services tuition as the fiscal host, and then the Perkins fiscal host for the Great River Consortium. We do recognize that our tuition, our ALC numbers are down about 15 students right now. And we also, with the targeted services, we'll be reaching out to all of your targeted services coordinators in request of if there's a targeted services plan for the year. As we lose the 10% revenue from the targeted services as the fiscal host, all of the member districts are losing those 90% of those funds. And our targeted services for us helps is intended to, and now that we have our middle level ALC program up and running, that will help as well. And our students right now we have 4 students only in with their middle level ALC, and those are all Monticello students. And it's a very nice space. It's working very well for those students. And we do have students from Howard Lake and Annandale and Buffalo that they will be visiting with to see if that middle level ALC program is the best fit for them right now. And then we do have a FCC licensed lease that is our capital that we receive annually for the lease of the FCC licenses. Next slide. So this is where we get into the access and usage. So this was from last year. And so if you list that bottom line, if I look at there, it says Monticello's allocation amount was 14.77. And if we scroll down a little bit further to the next slide, it shows us where our numbers are as we anticipate for our, we started looking at what the numbers are for your FY22 school year budget. And as of right now, if the numbers were to stay the same, so we take the October 1 numbers where you're at 106, and we just put a number in there for February 1 as 106. It's just a placeholder. And then what we will be doing is we take the average of those two, and if it were to stay at 106, then the allocation for the FY22 would be at 16%. And next slide. So there's just a lot of information that and I appreciate the opportunity to share this with you. But if you're in review of this, in similar presentations from the last few years, if there's something that jumps out at you that you would like to have some more additional information on, please reach out to me or reach out to Mr. Olson, and he can send that question to me, and we'll definitely get that answer to you. I think it's important to make certain that if there are questions that are asked, that those answers, we find the answers to those. So here is our, I don't know how to say it other than awful looking fund balance based on what it is that we've experienced the last few years. And so now when we look over at for the 2021 school year for FY21, we want to keep those increasing, just watching our expenditures. But we also, with our, we know that the main source of expenditures with any of our districts is our salaries and our wages for our employees. And based on our teachers' contracts, they are guaranteed the average of the 8-member districts within the salary. And so as the salaries increase over the period of time, it's important that we get our expenditures in line where we can have those lines cross over further, and we can receive we can start recognizing a savings, and getting back to our fund balance policy, which is at 18%. But the reason it's so high is because we rely on the member districts to help fund us through our tuition and our allocation amounts. I think that's the last slide for me. I know 21 updates. So let's hit those real quick. I apologize. So there's some of the interior facilities projects. Of course, we had extra time this last spring, so we got a head start on a lot of painting that needed to be done. We did upgrade some flooring and some new tables in some of the classes and office desks and student tables for the MLC. And most of those were repurposed. A few exterior projects that we worked on this summer, and of course the number of projects that you're able to do is based on the dollars that you have available. And next slide with program improvements. And I'll take some questions if you have any. So these are some things that we were able to add this year, and as far as a new auto lift, picoscope for diagnostic of vehicle electrical computer systems, a new scan tool for auto tech as well, laser engraver, which we're going to be getting installed here within the next few weeks, digital drawing tablets, and then construction technology. We have a new instructor in our construction trades, and we purchased some new equipment that was outdated and not in place. And our house has moved off the foundation. It'll be down the road this Thursday. We sold it earliest we've sold, but it actually took them a while to get the movers lined up for that to be moved. But they've been framing walls inside of the shop already, and we'll get the walls up and roof on and closed in before the snow flies. So any questions for me from anybody, and just remember at any time, I appreciate the support and the questions that are asked, and thank you for Monticello's support.
Thank you, Brian. That was a good presentation. And I'm glad to hear that the house is all taken care of too.
Yes, we got actually we received the check today, so that's a good thing. And we did receive a first payment for Wright County dollars too for the reimbursements, and so the fund balance will continue to climb. So those are things too, when we look at the fund balance, the revenues that haven't been recognized actually from FY20 yet, so getting that house taken care of. So thank you, Melissa, too, for your involvement as the Wright Tech board member, and appreciate all the support from the board members from all the districts, and especially our governing board. So thank you.
Yep.
All right.
Thanks
Thank
for
you so
coming
much.
here, Brian.
Yep. Thank you, Brian. It was a great presentation.
All right. Thank you.
And we'll continue on to our last item on our agenda with Barb Wilson for the COVID-19 update.
Yes, good evening. Just a couple of quick updates for the board. We want to start out with something you've probably noticed already on our website. We have a new, Jill, if you can go back to the first slide and click on the title. We have a new feature on our COVID website, which is the dashboard of cases. So you can see this dashboard is new as of today. It lists the number of employees and students that we have in the district and the number of confirmed positive cases that we've had in our school district. This is going to be updated weekly, and we're going to have a place where we'll have a total and then also like a last 2-week count. So the previous 10-day count, so that we can keep our eyes on these numbers and watch for any kinds of trends, and just make sure we're keeping everybody safe, getting the numbers out there. This coincides with some of the newer information that's being put out on MDE's website as far as schools. So we want to make sure that we get our information out to our parents as well and staff. Along with the dashboard, we'll have an information sheet that will tell people, you know, at what point will the numbers be large enough to trigger a change, either in our learning plan or school operations in any way. So hopefully this is just more information that will help people feel like we're being transparent, that we're handling things as they come up, and that we have good plans to keep everybody safe. Questions about our dashboard?
No, I guess I have one question on the top. When you go back to the dashboard, it said 10.5, but then when you went below it, the cases, it said 9.8.
So 9.8 is when it started.
So since 9.8. Okay,
Yeah,
that's the
so
part I
this
didn't see.
is-
That was
yeah.
my bad. I'm sorry.
We had to pick a start point, and so that was our first day of full attendance at school.
Okay.
So that's how we picked that date. Good question.
Perfect. Thank you. And I think I misread it, so I apologize on my part. So
Yep,
that's good information. I think families in the community will really appreciate that.
Great, and thanks to Clay for helping us get this all put out there. So the other artifact that I'm just going to share with you today is just a little bit of information of what will happen if there's a positive COVID case, a lab confirmed positive case in a school or in a classroom. So the first thing that will happen is all parents and teachers will receive the MDH notification letter as soon as possible. So these letters are triggered when MDH connects with our district nurses, and they have completed some interviews of who has the positive case and who could potentially be a close contact. And the advice from MDH is that as long as we maintain the 6-foot distance rule and keep our contact with an individual to under 15 minutes. So little tutoring sessions or face-to-face meetings that we have with staff, even with each other. If we keep those smaller, close contacts to under 15 minutes, then we greatly reduce the risk of COVID exposure, even if we have a positive case within a building or a classroom. It would be the risk would be no greater than acquiring it out in the general community. And that's what we're really going for, is keeping our schools safe and open. We will not release any specifics about the positive case, such as the name of the person or the grade or even the classroom. We'll keep as much personal information private as possible and still keep everybody safe. And then from here, any close contacts will get kind of the next level of notification and awareness of the positive case. So if you are a close contact of someone who has a positive case, you can go to the next slide, Joe. Thank you. That is when phone calls will come from Minnesota Department of Health or our district nurses, and they will ask more questions. They kind of dig in just to see who could potentially have been a close contact to you, or if you were the close contact of the positive case. From there, individual staff, students, and in very rare cases, full classrooms that are identified as close contacts would be notified by the nurses and by the district leadership. It's going to take everyone reaching out at this point, talking with people who are identified as close contacts. And the letter, again, the quarantine letter will go home from MDH. Human Resources will call staff and talk through what their options are for quarantining, possible testing, length of time, different kinds of leave they can use. So we will be reaching out to staff just to provide support and some guidance and direction. And then in the event that we have to notify a whole classroom, we will send the letter home that day. We will call parents from school that day. Some of these notifications take place outside of the school day and on the weekend. So that's our next phase of planning with our principals, is just talking through and planning through what will happen in the very rare case that we would need to exclude a full classroom. How will we contact those parents over the weekend? How will we make sure they're keeping themselves and their kids safe, and those kids are not continuing to go out, whether it's to our activities or in the community or even to school the next day? So we just keep digging in and planning a little further along, and we're making some good progress.
All right. Does anybody have any questions for Barb?
No, but this is very helpful. It's very good to have this information out there, and I do really like that dashboard. The visual really helps. And it's a quick find. It's a quick thing for parents to look at. So thank you very much for that.
You're welcome.
All right. Well,
thank you.
Thanks, Barb.
Yep.
With that being said, it is 7:08, and that was our last agenda item, so we can call for an adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Jennifer Lewis Canigator, second by Melissa Curtis.
Sure, that works.
Okay. All those in favor say aye by roll call. Jeff? Melissa?
Aye.
Andy?
Aye.
Jennifer?
Aye.
Missy?
Aye.
And Jill? Aye. Motion to adjourn at 7:08 is approved.
Oh, good night, everyone.
Have a good night.